Humans are a myth, the biologist scoffed. His voice echoed through the sterile halls of the Galathar Institute of Evolutionary Inquiry, nestled inside a massive living coral formation orbiting the gas giant Corvix 9. Dr. Schulzul, scaled and ancient, hunched over a specimen table with translucent claws folded behind his back. To the gathered audience of researchers, interns, and a few members of the High Zoological Order, his tone was both dismissive and absolute. There is no verifiable genetic trail. No confirmed remains. No civilization markers outside myth and scavenger tales. Even if they ever existed, and I stress if, they're gone. Extinct. Or fabricated. A few murmurs rippled through the crowd, but no one dared challenge him. He wasn't just a biologist. Schulzul was the preeminent xenogeneticist of the quadrant, with accolades stretching across 2 empires and 6 species. And yet, in the far back, barely acknowledged, a single intern tightened her grip on a data slate. Her name was Melari Jex, a Lissari hybrid with neural implants and a history of making dangerous bets. She'd seen something. Something raw. Something real. The problem was, the last being to bring up humans in this institute had their funding stripped and their career publicly disemboweled. Still, her voice trembled but rose. Doctor, if I may, there's a signal. Buried in the Kashan archive. I found a ping that references an encrypted human relay station near the edge of the Vrash expanse. Deep black zone. It's old, but it's active. Laughter, then silence. Schulzul turned slowly, membranes fluttering slightly around his gill sacs. My dear Melari, you've just proposed chasing ghosts. Likely an ancient Vark beacon corrupted by cosmic radiation. Are you suggesting we divert resources to hunt legends? Melari's eyes flared violet. I'm suggesting that we verify the unknown instead of dismissing it. Isn't that science? The room shifted uncomfortably. Schulzul narrowed his eyes but said nothing. It was clear, the conversation was over. Or so he thought. 3 cycles later. Melari's ship was barely more than a long-range survey pod with a retrofitted cloaking matrix. She'd stolen, no, requisitioned, it from the Institute's underfunded xenobotany department. She named it Obstinance. The Vrash expanse was quiet in the way a predator watches. Static danced across her sensors. Energy fields twisted like oil slicks across the void. Then it came. A pulse. Simple. Repeating. Sector Alpha Prime. Contact code 0192 Humanity Reserve. Auth ID Nemesis. Melari's breath caught. She sent a probe. It didn't return. She blinked as her cockpit went dark. For exactly 7.3 seconds, every system in her ship reset, and in that window a new file appeared on her console. No signal. No source. Just a black icon in the shape of a gauntlet wrapped around a star. She opened it. It was a video. A grainy figure stared back at her, sitting casually on what looked like a steel crate in a hangar. Male perhaps. Human. Almost certainly. I don't know who's watching this, the figure said, voice tired but calm. If you've made it this far, then we're probably extinct. Or in hiding. Or worse. But if you're not one of us and you found this, turn back. Right now. This archive was sealed for a reason. Melari leaned in. You want to study us. You want to understand. That's fair. But understand this too, we never lost wars. We ended them. We don't conquer worlds. We remake them. You think of humans as legends. But in your darkest nightmares, in the broken hush between battles, you whisper us as warnings. For a reason. The feed glitched. Another face appeared, a different human, female this time, wearing armor engraved with ancient Terran markings. We didn't start the last war. But we finished it. And we left one final message for the galaxy. Never come looking. If you find this, it's already too late. The video ended. Silence. Melari stared, fingers trembling over the controls. Her heart thudded with adrenaline and wonder. She turned the ship around. But it was already too late. Something had seen her. Something massive. Institute Archive entry. Log update 41988B, subject. Biologist Dr. Schulzul. Declared deceased. Last recorded transmission indicated pursuit of unauthorized signal near Vrash expanse. Confirmed sighting of unidentified vessel prior to data blackout. Recommend restricted classification for all materials recovered. Melari's ship, the Obstinance, shuddered as the massive presence loomed before her. The void outside her viewport was no longer empty, it was filled with a colossal structure, ancient and enigmatic. The vessel, if it could be called that, was unlike anything catalogued in the Galathar Institute's extensive archives. Her sensors struggled to process the data, overwhelmed by the sheer scale and complexity of the object. It was as if the ship existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, defying conventional physics. A sudden jolt snapped Mallory back to reality. The Obstinance was being pulled towards the structure by an unseen force. Her attempts to regain control were futile. The ship was no longer responding to her commands. As the Obstinance was drawn into the massive vessel, Mallory's mind raced. The video message she had received echoed in her thoughts. If you find this, it's already too late. Inside the alien ship, the Obstinance came to a halt in a vast chamber illuminated by a soft, pulsating light. The air was thick with anticipation, and Mallory could feel an unseen presence observing her every move. Suddenly, a voice resonated within her mind, clear and commanding. You have trespassed into forbidden space. State your purpose. Mallory, gathering her courage, responded, I seek knowledge. I seek the truth about humanity. There was a pause, then the voice replied, Very well. Prepare yourself. A beam of light enveloped Mallory, and her consciousness was pulled into a torrent of memories, visions, and emotions. She witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the horrors of war, and the resilience of the human spirit. When she awoke, Mallory found herself back in the Obstinance, now docked in a different part of the alien vessel. Before her stood a humanoid figure, its features obscured by a hooded cloak. You have seen the truth, the figure said. Now you must decide what to do with it. Mallory nodded, understanding the weight of the knowledge she now possessed. The myths were real, and humanity's legacy was far more complex than she had ever imagined. Mallory's breath came slow and controlled, but every nerve in her body vibrated like a struck chord. The cloaked figure, so still, so impossibly human in shape, had not moved since it spoke. You said I've seen the truth, Mallory managed, voice taut. Then tell me, what are you? The figure's hood shifted slightly, revealing only the glint of pale light reflecting off eyes that bore no scara, just infinite depths like twin black holes. I am what was left behind, it said. I am the consequence of memory. The last observer. The last human? She asked. A silence passed that felt like it could rupture a star. No, the figure replied, stepping forward at last. I am merely the shadow of their design. Their echo. You want the truth? Then witness it fully. With a single motion, the floor beneath her shimmered, and the walls of the chamber dissolved. Mallory was no longer aboard her ship. No longer even in physical form. She had been pulled into another memory, this time not human history as observed from afar. This time she was there. She stood amid the ruins of a once great city. Skyscrapers twisted in half. Roads broken like eggshells. Human corpses frozen in their final, desperate moments. The sky was filled with descending alien vessels, her own kind, the Galathari, among them. A war had been waged here. But not one started by humans. No, this was retaliation. Suddenly her borrowed vision shifted. She saw humans, real humans, not recordings or myths, unleashing machines that broke quantum symmetry. Weapons that bent light, tore open gravity, and whispered death to matter. Mallory saw a single human soldier walk into a fleet of invaders and erase them with nothing more than a spoken word, backed by coded nanotech folded into his voice. She wanted to scream, to disbelieve. But her mind couldn't turn away from what came next. The humans disappeared. Not because they died. Because they chose to. They turned inward, built their last cities in dimensions nobody could map, and burned every trace of their presence, except for a few scattered artifacts like this ship and its caretaker. Back in her body, Mallory collapsed to her knees. Why would they do this? She gasped. Why vanish after winning? Because winning was never the goal, the figure said quietly. They saw what war cost them. What it cost everyone. They saw their strength was no longer protection, but terror. So they left. Not out of fear. Out of mercy. The air turned colder. The ship hummed with something ancient, dangerous, yet still, grieving. Then why now? Why show me this? Because your people are on the verge of becoming what the humans once were. You study them, yes, but what you do not understand is what happens after. You seek to revive a power that should have been buried with time. Mallory's mind reeled. Then what should I do? You must choose, the figure said. You leave and tell the galaxy humanity was a myth as they once wished. Or you speak the truth, and the galaxy trembles once again. Mallory swallowed hard. She knew what the Institute would do if she returned with this knowledge. She also knew what it would mean if she remained silent. But before she could answer, alarms rang in her ear. The Obstinance systems had reactivated. Incoming fleet, a mechanical voice echoed. Galathari High Guard, she whispered in horror. They must have tracked me here. The figure's eyes narrowed. They are not ready. And then the chamber shifted, metal flexed, walls blinked out, and the entire structure moved. The ancient ship powered up in response to the threat, awakening fully for the first time in what could have been millennia. They will fire on us, Melari warned. They'll assume I've been compromised. Then let them witness the last myth, the figure said. And with that, the vessel turned to face the fleet, its engines flaring with light not seen in the galaxy for over 10,000 years. The Galathari fleet came out of warp in a brilliant cascade of prismatic light, encircling the relic ship like a mechanical noose. 40 warships, each bristling with plasma batteries, railguns, and AI-commanded drones. Their hulls shimmered with the latest defense matrices, impervious to known weapons, invincible to known enemies. The Obstinance, the human relic, hovered silent and alone in the void. Its hull barely gleamed, more ancient artifact than war machine. And yet, Melari had never been more terrified of anything in her life. On board, the cloaked figure, neither alive nor dead, neither AI nor organic, stood at the helm. No motion, no panic. Just awareness. Old awareness. The High Guard have targeted us, Melari whispered, staring at her HUD. They think I've gone rogue. You haven't, the figure said. You've simply remembered what they made you forget. A broadcast came through. Vice Admiral Velzer's voice, sharp and cold, filled the ship. Unidentified vessel. You are within a classified excavation zone. The Galathari Science Institute claims all rights to artifacts within this sector. Power down and prepare for containment. If you are harboring Melari Den, she must be surrendered. The figure looked at Melari, and then did something she hadn't anticipated. It stepped away. Go, it said. This isn't your war. Not yet. Melari blinked. You're not going to fight? The ship hummed louder, its ancient systems heating, awakening, resonating across subspace like a sleeping god stretching its limbs. I said I was not a human, the figure said. But I was made by them. My presence is enough. The fleet fired. Hundreds of beams of energy, high-velocity projectiles, drones in synchronized formation, all aimed at a single ship. The Obstinance did not move. Instead, the attack simply vanished. Melari's sensors went blank. No impacts. No readings. No damage. Like reality had refused the event. What did you do? She asked, stunned. I reminded space what humans were. The Galathari ships began to drift. One by one their engines sputtered. Their shields unraveled, not from damage, but from sudden incompatibility with the laws of physics. Melari's ship was designed for comprehension, for observation, for containment. The ship was not. The ship was beyond. The figure walked toward the viewport, its form dissolving into strands of data and memory. Now you understand why they left, it said. They could break everything. So instead they chose to vanish. But now they're not vanished, Melari whispered. Now the galaxy knows. A beat. No. You know. The Obstinance released a burst of encoded light, unreadable by Galathari systems but filled with meaning to Melari. Her own vessel, the Inquiry, locked onto it. And with a flash of command she was back on her ship. Alone. The relic was gone. The Galathari fleet, still paralyzed but untouched. Vice Admiral Velzer's voice returned, shaky now. What was that? Then. What did you bring upon us? Melari stood at the center of her bridge, staring at the empty stars where a myth had just proven itself real. She reached for her log, recording manually, an old practice but now a necessity. This is Melari Den, Field Biologist, Galactic Science Institute. The human race was not a myth. It was a choice. And we were the ones who chose to forget. But they didn't disappear. They simply stopped playing by rules we could understand. This is not a warning. This is a memory. And for the first time in generations, a truth long buried was given breath again. Epilogue. Weeks passed. The Galathari classified the event. The High Guard spun it as a rogue AI encounter, but whispers spread, among outworlders, among smugglers, among the Voidborn. Humans, they said. Real ones. Ancient ones. Melari vanished. Some claimed she joined a rogue science enclave. Others believed she followed the light of that old ship into the folds of unknown space. But every now and then, across distant worlds, coordinates would appear on black market networks. Coordinates that led to barren moons. Dead systems. And each one held relics. Ships. Artifacts. Reminders. That the most terrifying thing in the universe wasn't that humans had once existed. It was that they might still be watching. If you want more of these long-form science fiction stories, tales where humanity isn't just surviving but changing the galaxy, then subscribe to the Void Narratives. New worlds, new threats, new legends, every week. And remember, in the darkest parts of the universe, myths are just truths we're too afraid to admit.